Hey guys, Mr. Zern here today talking about some more while loops, and we're going to be doing a little bit of math with those while loops. So here, let's take a look at our notes. Feel free to follow along at home. So I'm just going to start off with a little bit of review just to get those mental juices going here. So review, declaring a variable. So we should all know how to do that hopefully at this point, and I'm just going to say, hey, number equals 0. And so here I've got a variable and I'm setting that variable equal to 0. And in this case, it's actually an integer because, we can see it there in green. So there we go. Pretty simple. A little more review for us. Declaring a variable via user input. Okay, so we've seen this in action before, and I'm going to say, hey, number equals, and so again, it's kind of setting up that same thing, declaring a variable, but I'm going to say, hey, input, and I'm going to prompt it to, hey, pick a number. Notice I've got a space there after the colon so that we get some space in there. All right, so let's add a second piece here, and I'd like to print those results. And we've seen this before, all right? So print, and then whatever I stick in here, and I'm going to say, hey, print number. In this case, it's going to print that variable. But I'm going to concatenate it with a little bit and say, hey, that is a string. Oops, that's a space there. Is a string and not a number because you didn't wrap it in an int. All right, so let's just sort of take this for a test drive and see what happens. All right, pick a number, 7. All right, 7 is a string and not a number because you didn't wrap it in an int. All right, so right now, that 7 that I inputted, it's the computer, Python is thinking of that as a string, okay? So let's add another piece here. Again, just a little bit of review, and I am going to add a line break. And this becomes really important as we're doing this in our programs to kind of, move things around so it's easy for people to read and understand what's going on here. All right, there we go. So here I've got print, and I've used an apostrophe instead of a quotation mark. Someone asked me recently, what's the difference? The big difference here is an apostrophe is used for for code that people won't see on the screen, and a quotation mark is for code that people are going to see on the screen, like strings and stuff. So basically, I've just added a line break there. Okay, so let's do a little bit more review here, and this time let's wrap the input as an integer. Okay, so gonna do something very similar here. So declaring a variable, but this time number 2. So just add a new variable, and I'm going to say int, and I'm going to put that. All right, now I'm going to say input and ask it a question. Hey, so pick another number, colon, space. And again, you don't need that space there, but it's going to give us that space between the user's input and the question. All right, and let's print those results. So print, and I'm going to say, hey, print number 2. So in this case, it would print that variable that we've inputted, but I'm going to concatenate it again here, just kind of adding a variable and concatenating it with a string here. So is a integer this time. Oh, man, I'm having some typing problems here. Let's try that again. There we go. Because you wrapped it in an int. All right. So let's take that for a test drive and see what we get. All right, pick a number, 7. All right, 7 is a string and not a number. Okay, pick another number. I'm going to say 7 again. All right, 7 is an integer this time because you wrapped it in an int. All right, cool. Great. So I'm just going to add another space here just to try and make it easier to read and follow. All right, cool. I'll scroll down here a little bit. Okay, just a little bit more review here before we get to the new stuff. So integers and while loops. All right, so we were working with these a little bit last time. So number 3, you're going to declare another variable. Again, going to wrap that inside an int. And I'm going to say, hey, pick a number again. All right, so maybe this will be the third and final time. All right, so what I'm going to do now is the user has the ability to enter a number, and then we're going to toss that number into a while loop here. So while, all right, so while number 3 is less than 20, I'm going to want something to happen. Super important. Don't forget that colon at the end of it. So while number 3 variable is less than 20, I want you to do something. So I've got a colon. I'm going to hit enter. Notice it automatically indents it there. That's super important that that indent is there, or it's not going to work. And I'm going to say while the number is less than whatever number 3 is less than 20, I want you to basically ask it another question there. So number 3. And I'm going to, wrap it in int here, input, and say, try entering a number greater than 20. Again, colon, space. Okay. So let's run this. So pick a number, 7. All right. So that's not a string. That's a string, not an integer. All right. Pick another number, 7. All right, this time 7 is an integer. Pick another number. All right, let's say 7 a third time. It says, ooh, try entering a number greater than 20. All right, let's say 15. Try entering a number greater than 20. See, I'm still inside that while loop because the integer is less than 20. All right, so let's do what it says, and let's say 25. All right, so there we go. We've left that while loop. All right, so I'm going to come back here in the code, and I've entered down. I'm going to hit backspace to get rid of that indent so we can actually code outside of the while loop. And otherwise, anything that I add would be inside that while loop. All right, I'm just going to add another little line break here with print just to kind of, again, just sort of separate that out a little bit. Okay, great. Let's scroll down here. All right, something new now. All right, so new. What are we looking at here? So how about a while loop and counters? All right, so what is that going to look like? All right, so we're going to ask another question here. So pretty straightforward here. So I'm declaring a variable, and I'm going to say, hey, balance. So we'll see where this is going. Int, going to wrap it inside that integer again. Going to say input. Okay, and the question is going to sort of, hey, say how much money do you have? So I'm asking a person how much money they have. Question mark, space. All right, so basically, again, just declared a variable. We've wrapped it in an integer. The input is simply asking how much money do you have. All right, so now we're going to create a while loop. So again, this point should relatively still be review. So balance, all right. Hey, how about if the balance is greater than 200, I want you to do this thing. And so again, I'm going to add a colon here and enter. Notice the indent there taking a place. All right, so while the balance is greater than 200, we're going to basically declare another variable. I'm going to call this one spend. So spend equals, again, important to wrap this in an integer so we can do some fancy math with it. Input, and then ask them a question. So how much did you spend? Question mark, space. All right, so we're inside the while loop, and if the balance is greater than 200, it's going to ask me how much did you spend. Now, if I was to run the program like this and enter a number greater than 200, we would enter an infinite loop, and it would just keep spitting the question at me, how much did you spend, over and over and over and over and over again until the computer crashes or I exit the program. All right, feel free to try that on your own there. I hate to crash this in the middle of the video. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want the program to do a little bit of fancy math. So it's going to ask that question, and then I'm going to say, hey, take the variable balance, and I would like you to subtract, and then subtract equal the variable spend. So it's going to take my balance, and then it's going to subtract whatever, it's going to use the variable spend and subtract that. So let's say, for example, I have 100, and I subtract 20. It's going to say that I have, it's going to store that new solution there. So let's print that. So, hey, print, and then let's concatenate it and say you have, and I'm going to add the $, and then comma, so concatenate this, balance. All right, so let's run this program. So as long as the balance is greater than 200, it's going to keep asking me how much did I spend until the number gets less than 200. So let's run that. Pick a number, 7. All right, we've seen that before. 7 again. Pick a number, 7. All right, try entering a number greater than 20. Let's say 21. All right, how much money do you have? And so I'm going to, just because I know what's going on here, I'm going to pick it and say 250. All right, how much did you spend? So let's say I spent 5. All right, you have 240. How much did you spend? I could say I spent 10. All right, you have 235. How much did you spend? I'm going to say 234. All right, you have $1. All right, that's how much that I have left. All right, so and because I've done that, because the balance is now less than 200, I've exited the while loop. Now I'm going to add one more thing here, and I think this is important. So I'm going to just enter down, I'm going to backspace to get rid of that indent, so I'm outside of the while loop, and just sort of, this, I'm going to call this new here as some kind of goodbye message. And so, it's nice for people to know that they've gotten to the end of your program, for sure. So I'm going to just, print and, add that, just that line break again. All right, and then just, kind of print a goodbye message there and see you later. All right, so that people know that, oh, okay, well, I guess we've gotten to the end. That's sort of the end of the program. So let's run this again. We'll use some different numbers. 10. All right, so 10's a string. Good. Let's enter 10 again. Because I wrapped it in an int, it's now an integer. Pick a number. No problem. Let's say 10 for a third time. All right, try entering a number greater than 21. No problem. Let's say 10,000. All right, how much money do you have? I'm going to say I have 500. All right, how much money did you spend? I spent 200. All right, you have 300. How much money did you spend? All right, 75. You have 225. How much money did you spend? I'm going to say I spent $26. All right, so I have $199. I exit the while loop, and then I get the goodbye message. See you later. All right, so a couple things there. We're just working in while loops. We can do some math, and you could say, in this case here, balance. So I'm basically taking the balance variable and subtracting it to the spend variable. You could change it there and have it plus, and it would be adding the spend to the balance instead. And you could do some other math things there in place of that subtraction sign. All right, so I'll see you guys later, and take a look at the assignment there for this Python program. I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.